on the far left side.
Number 13. 13 is his number, and you'll see him. We can move to the left just a bit. Number 15 in your picture there is David Hines, and there is Bill Rogers coming into view.
Well, I'd have to say that this is a surprise that Bill is up as close to the front now at such an early stage in the race. He has obviously assessed that the wind is not going to be a factor, and he's not afraid to get up to the lead.
Perhaps the most famous marathoner running today. He's been running for years. Bill Rogers, 4-time New York, 4-time Boston winner. Let's take a closer look at him. You might call him the grand old man of marathoning. 5'8", 128, still very lean at the age of 36. Graduate of Wesleyan University, did postgraduate work at Boston College. Trying to go to the Olympics for the second time. He was there in 1976 at Montreal. And earlier, our Ann Simon visited with Bill.
What is your goal here, besides to make the Olympic team?
My goal is to see how well I can do against the top Americans. You know, I want to kind of measure myself, how well I can do against them. And I feel pretty competitive still. You know, I haven't enjoyed racing. I haven't raced that well in a marathon in a while, but I'm looking forward to this one.
Realistically, do you feel that you have a chance to place in the top 3?
Probably not. If I make the team, it would be sort of a miracle, I guess, you know. But I think I might get in the top 10. You know, if I get in the top 10, I'll feel pretty satisfied.
Well, he's in the top 10 right now. He's doing better than that as he's pursuing the leaders as they head up the banks of the Niagara River along the Niagara Parkway. As our coverage of the United States Men's Olympic Marathon Trials continues. The race that began in Buffalo, New York, across the border and into Canada. And up the road they head with John Tuttle, number 6, at the moment in the lead, and Bill Rogers right there with him. Back with more after this from your local station. And Matt Wilson has taken the lead. As you look at the Niagara River, the Niagara Parkway 5 is out in front. He has moved away from the rest of the pack, at least for the moment, but bunched in amongst the others, very much in contention. And right there, Bill Rogers, David Hines, lead of the marathon thus far. There he is. He's from West Newton, Massachusetts, and his lead is approximately 100 yards at this point. By far the biggest lead of the race. That is Roland Davey from Coventry, Rhode Island, to his second. And as you can see, behind him is a pack that includes Salazar and Meyer and some of the other contenders. One of the top contenders, Ron Tabb, has dropped 400 yards. It's almost a little bit of trouble right now, Marty.
Well, Tabb had said earlier he wanted to come from behind, but I don't think he meant he wanted to come from this far behind. The pace is not that fast that these runners in that pack, which we're looking at right now, are going to fold in the last few miles. They're running about 2:11 paces. They have been all day. Pfitzinger, the Cornell grad, is running a very good race. He's run 2:12:30 to qualify, but he ran that after only about 6 months of training. He was injured for almost the entire year before that. He's the current American record holder at 20 miles, and he's almost to 20 miles now. But this is a big lead for him to have at this point in the race. I'd say right now his chances of making the team are very good. Salazar leading that second pack now.
There's Gordon, and Salazar's number 2.
And then Gary Bjorklund and Greg Meyer. Dave Gordon, number 10, one of the new faces that was given an outside shot. And there's Bill Rogers, number 13. No one really expected this. Rogers made the first big move in the race. At 10 miles, he came up, took the lead, notched it down by 17 seconds per mile, ran a 4:48 mile, and he didn't drop anybody. He decided, uh-oh, I might as well tuck back in.
Gary Bjorkman, 54, is right there along with Hines. And these pictures are really amazing. I mean, we've got helicopters and boats and cameras, especially a point-to-point marathon. Let's check in with Diana Nyad.
Well, Pfitzinger has opened up a lead in that pack, just a few people behind Salazar. And as you said, you picked up on it. Ron Tabb, surprisingly to all of us, is a good quarter-mile back of the pack. Somebody's going to have to pour on some speed, or that third-place race is going to be a race down to the last half mile. Back to you, Al.
All right, Diana. Rogers is there, and Sandoval, who has been sort of quietly trailing that pack, is making his way up. Number 27, he's the man who won the Olympic trial here on this course in 1980, and there was nowhere to go with the boycott, and subsequently went back to New Mexico, a graduate of Stanford who went to medical school in Colorado, lives in Los Alamos, New Mexico. Sandoval is a man who was a question mark coming in. Some people thought that he'd be right there at the end, and the way it looks right now, he's certainly amongst the contenders.
Right, and at 116 pounds, he's the lightest man in the field, and that's why he likes to tuck in there and get sheltered from the wind. It's still, except for Ron Tabb, we're still looking at most of the principal figures having a shot to make that team. With the addition, I think, of Bill Rogers. His stock now is rising very quickly. Very quickly. He's still there at 18 miles, which he hasn't done in a major marathon in a couple of years, as Bill admitted earlier.
About 18 miles gone and 8 to go. The elapsed time, you can see that on the vehicle in front of the leader, who is still Pfitzinger, number 19. Out in front, Pete Pfitzinger. His projected time reflected at the bottom of the screen, 2 hours, 11 minutes, 32 seconds. He is on that sort of pace. People thought that the three qualifiers might have to all finish under 2:10, but they'll really have to pick up the paces. You have Tuttle and Gordon, who's been right there. Meyer, number 1, who was running with a hat early on. And then one hatless at about the 8-mile mark. Sandoval is also very much in contention, and Salazar is running a very, very steady race. And as you can see, the bar graph at the bottom, 20 of the 26.2 miles completed, and here's where the race really gets going now.
This pack here is 27 seconds behind Pfitzinger, the leader, and Pfitzinger may be slowing down. At 16 miles, he ran 5 minutes, 17, 5:02, 18, 4:56, 19, 5:04, but the 20th mile, where they say that wall is, he ran a 5:10. He's the American record holder at 20 miles, but maybe the last 6 are going to be tough for him. He's going to be happy that he went out there and got this lead no matter what happens, because this is really giving him a chance, a good chance of making the team. He was very smart to get out there. Tuttle now, Greg Meyer starting to make the move. I thought that 20-mile mark would be a psychological point, a point that people have thought about for 4 years, that's where I've got to make my move. That last 10,000 meters, a strong push, and it looks like they're going to start moving now.
So the pack right there bearing down on Pfitzinger, who's trying to steal a spot. The top 3 going to the Olympics. Let's check in with Diana again.
Well, Marty, I have to agree with you. Pfitzinger, even though he's opened up the next couple of miles. Now, in that second pack, we're talking about a horse race for speed at the end here. We know what kind of speed Salazar has. We know what kind of speed Sandoval has on the track, and I think that Meyer, with his capability of running...
Thank you. It's turned out to be a pretty nice day. As you can see, sun breaking through after a very cloudy and fog-shrouded and big incline that they faced early on, and the rest of the race basically flat and smooth. And another look now at the pack as Bill Rogers is right there alongside of Salazar, and Sandoval and Tuttle. So he is still very much in contention as he tries to make his way back to the Olympics. And we'll be back after this word and a message from your local station. In the lead, his lead about 100 yards, and it appears to be maybe shriveling just a bit as Alberto Salazar and John Tuttle and Tony Sandoval, that's Salazar number 2, and Greg Meyer number 1, are running right there in that pack.
Back. He said that in recent years he's gotten to the 16-mile mark and he just felt weak. He's psychologically trying to fight through that, trying to hang on. But this pack here is starting to pick the pace up. They're making about 4 seconds per mile up on Pete Pfitzinger, the leader, who's got a 21-second lead. So projecting out what's happened over the last 2 miles, if that keeps happening, if Pfitzinger keeps running 5:05s and the pack keeps running the way they are, they should catch him within a half mile of the finish line. So I'm still not confident that he's on the team. He's made a valiant effort, and it's going to either fall just short or just make it, because this pack now, one man moves up, pushes the pace a little bit. Salazar's doing it now. Tuttle in the red did it for a while. Sandoval looking very good. Greg Meyer with the 4-minute speed in blue in the back did it for a while. They're working together and they're trying to reel in Pfitzinger, but at the same time they're watching each other, because there's 2 men in that pack, Sandoval and Greg Meyer, who are fairly confident of out-kicking Salazar over the last 200 yards.
A couple of men also in there. Dean Matthews, who would be a long shot. He's wearing number 39 from Eugene, Oregon. And David Gordon has run a relatively quiet but very, very steady race and is certainly in a position to make the top three with a good finish.
Gordon has been there right from the start, just staying close to the front but not being aggressive, taking the move. And Dean Matthews has been what I'd say the best of the Reds. He came in with a 2:14 marathon, but he's now running with the 2:08, 2:09 crowd.
About 3 miles to go. The leader is still number 19, Peter Pfitzinger of West Newton, Massachusetts. We'll be back. Pretty much maintain that pace, is the leader. And now the battle for second right there with Salazar and Tuttle currently running second and third. And behind them is Gordon, and behind him is Sandoval. So there are your top five. Meyer has dropped back. He had the fastest qualifying time winner at Boston in 1983. Greg Meyer, number one, running with a hat early on, shedded that. And he's had some injury problems, and maybe that's beginning to affect him again. But he right now is in major trouble and in danger of not making the Olympic team.
It looks like Meyer is definitely out of it. The time spent with the injuries was just too much for him to overcome. The race now between Tuttle, Salazar, and Dave Gordon, just receiving the water, third on the screen right now. I say that because I think Pfitzinger has a good shot to win the race, but almost a certain shot to be able to hang on to at least that third spot. The only problem, the only way they can catch him is as they come into this last turn. If there's a headwind, it might really stiffen them up, stand them up, and allow Salazar and Tuttle to come back on him. But really, Salazar now pushing the pace, gradually picking it up. Tuttle, who has looked good and easy the entire way, is managing to hang on, and the real battle now will be Gordon. And it'll be interesting to see if Salazar is able to break Tuttle right there, and whether Gordon will be able to come up and pick up the remains. But Salazar moved a little bit. Now Tuttle coming back. They're parrying now. They're testing each other, and you'd have to say that after 4 years and 2 years of talk, Alberto Salazar is going to have to really work the next 2 miles to get on the Olympic team.
He's never been beaten by an American in a marathon. This is his 7th marathon. He won his first 4, then 2 fifth-place finishes. He has to finish, of course, in the top 3 to make it. Pfitzinger, and I was looking at the dope sheets put out by a lot of the experts, and they always listed Sandoval and Salazar and Meyer and Tab and people like that, and nobody really gave Pfitzinger more than a remote chance to make it. But he has the lead, and right now you've got Tuttle, who a lot of people thought might do well, in a position to make the Olympic team along with Salazar.
And as we just saw from that shot, it looks like Tuttle and Salazar are very close to Pfitzinger. Don't forget, a marathon, a lot can happen in that last 2 miles. Pfitzinger, the American record holder at 20 miles, but the last 3 miles are in many races harder than the first 20, and they're coming on him fast now. And Dave Gordon still in the picture. There are 4 men really in contention for the race, with Pfitzinger the leader, not even as short of a place, with less than 8 minutes to run.
And according to the lead vehicle, it just showed 25.3 miles, so under a mile to go, if that happens to be an accurate total.
There was a perfect shot, and we can see the perspective that they are gaining with every step now, and I think even a little bit of a smile coming to their faces as they realize it, because once they pass Pfitzinger, he's been out there for so long, he's not going to be able to come back. Psychologically or physically, he won't come back. On Tuttle now, the surprise of the last year, he ran 2:14, then 2:12, then 2:10 at New York in October, and now he's on his way.
He has the lead, so Tuttle is out in front. Pfitzinger is second, and there is Salazar running third, and Gordon is still in 4th place. So they are the leaders. Less than a mile to go in this marathon. They've been running for more than 2 hours at this spot, and there they are. You can throw a blanket over the top 3. It figured to be this sort of finish. Everybody knew that this was a race that was going to be wide open, that could go several different ways dependent upon the strategy. But one thing everybody seemed to be in agreement on was that it would be very, very close at the end.
Less than a mile to go, and you'd have to think now that Salazar has either had a hard time in making the team, or he's been very, very confident knowing that he had something left and he could push it if he needed to for the challenge. Right now, Dave Gordon in the screen there, it's a deceiving shot. He's not really that close. They've really separated themselves, and I would say apart from Pfitzinger really falling apart at this point. We're looking at our team, and Pfitzinger, the hero of the day, really running a type of race that Salazar made so famous, taking off with 15 miles, throwing all caution to the wind, and just throwing down the gauntlet, and he got away with it for 25 of the 26 miles, but it looks like it's going to put him on the team. Tuttle, very happy right now. He's got speed. He's a former steeplechaser. He's not going to be outkicked by anyone from behind.
Tuttle is 25 years old. He was born in Alfred, New York. Went to Auburn. 2:10:51 is qualifying time at the New York Marathon last October. He is the leader. There is Gordon in fourth place. He has been there up amongst the leaders all day long, running in that pack, but in trouble right now. In trouble, in danger of not making the team, as it looks like it will be those three, with Tuttle and Salazar and Pfitzinger, who will be going on to the Olympics. And
very courageous. You see Pfitzinger really concentrating. He's stuttering a little bit. It's hard. He's got to work his arms to keep his balance, but he's concentrating on just going with Salazar and Tuttle, concentrating on their backs, hoping that they'll pull him along. A lot of concentration on this young man's, in this young man's mind. He's run a great race. Tuttle looking seemingly unpressed, and I guess we're going to come away with this race looking towards the Olympics, as Tuttle will now have a lot of pressure because he showed so much today. Now Salazar
is going to take the lead here, and they're going to come into view of the thousands that have gathered at the finish line very, very shortly.
And Salazar obviously thinking about never having been beaten by an American, and even though the top three make it, he's going to go that little extra effort, and in just a second he will come around the corner, and the thousands of fans at the finish line will see the man that they expected to lead this race, but what they don't know is he has really had to work hard to pull it out in just the last mile.
And also to come back, and we mentioned earlier, some people wondered where Salazar went after he won those first 4 marathons and then faded, and then he had the iron deficiency, has been taking iron supplements. There were some rumors about a foot injury to Salazar, whether that might hurt him or not. People wondering the extent of that. Would it bother him? Well, nothing's bothered him very much today, as he's running well enough not only to make the team, but to win this race the way things are going, as they are in view of everybody at the finish.
And look at Pfitzinger. He took a little bit of a mental break, and he's now coming back. What a great marathon.
Here's Pfitzinger, and he's seeking the victory. He's seeking the victory. Tuttle will be third, but Pfitzinger and Salazar are side by side, and Pfitzinger comes on, and he's going to win it. What a performance by Pfitzinger, who looked like he'd be content to finish third, and he comes back to win it. Once they passed him, it looked like third place would be all he would be thinking about, just happy to make the team, and then all of a sudden he finds something extra at the end. Salazar finishes second. There comes Gordon, who'll be the alternate. Tuttle was third. He finishes in third position, so in 78 days he will represent the United States at the Olympics.
Dean Matthews finishing fourth. There's the big surprise.